Hi guys, a man called Robert who voted for Brexit spoke to a YouTube reporter about post-Brexit food standards and Keir Starmer returning Britain to the EU. Now, while I don't agree with the politics of the YouTuber, do check out his channel. First of all, this is not an attack on the man in the clip, but the position he holds, which I believe come via a combination of reading the Express and watching GB News. Robert has been convinced that food standards will not drop post-Brexit, but also believes that the EU wants to punish Britain for leaving the bloc. And he doesn't want another referendum. Have a listen.
I suppose Mr. Starmer's justification for keeping a lot of the regulations in areas like the food industry would be, he would say that any reduction and any scrapping of these regulations would perhaps reduce the safety and quality of products sold in Britain. Do you think there's any argument to say that we should stay aligned on issues of that nature?
Well, I mean, I'm in older years now and I've grown up really on British food all my life really. And there's nothing wrong with it, and there's lots of old people and people are living longer now, so whatever food they're eating, it must be, you know, I'm talking about local people and that. I don't see them running out and buying continental food everywhere and that. I think our food, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good, healthy food.
And so you don't think there's you think the regulations that the EU have in place are perhaps unnecessary when it comes to food, and that would be fine even without those regulations? Yes. Is that kind of your argument?
Yes, well, the thing is, they've always got to be, you know, they haven't really forgiven us for voting out really, so they keep coming up with all these crazy ideas really about what we do really, you know, it's got nothing to do with them really. We should really be in control of our own food outlets and everything else. And not only that, the country exports a lot of stuff anyway. So I don't know what the beef is all about really.
Okay. Once again, this is not a criticism of the man. He probably reads the Express and he probably watches GB News, and that's where he gets his information from. So the source is the problem, not the guy regurgitating the information from the source. Now, he's under the impression that, well, you know, our food standards are high. So why should I care about EU food standards? Why should we be following EU food standards? Well, the reason that they're high is in part because the EU, when the UK was a member, maintains high food standards. So will UK food standards remain high? Well, that remains to be seen. Because if you do trade deals with Australia and New Zealand and you lower standards to allow that food to come in, then you're lowering it also for British producers. We were speaking to Liz Webster from Save British Farming, and she had mentioned how a lot of farmers are moving to factory farming. And of course, factory farming reduces the quality of the meat that's being produced. Now, they have to do it out of necessity, because if Australian farmers and New Zealand farmers are able to produce en masse, British farmers have to compete or they go to the wall. So if the standards are lower, then the farmers will naturally follow those standards. Now, some producers will maintain a high standard, but they will be selling a high-priced product. But this is why lowering standards will be bad. It would be bad for the British consumer. It would be bad for British industry.
Absolutely. So another thing that's been discussed, although both parties have, I think, officially sort of ruled out the possibility, and that is of a second referendum or any attempt to sort of rejoin the EU more officially. How do you feel about this option being off the table?
We voted out, and we should honour that vote really, and it's going to upset a lot of people if he tries to actually get it changed really. You know, as I say, I can't see him getting in anyway. You know, he just changes the goalpost as he goes along really.
Absolutely. So
okay, so he's criticising Keir Starmer here by saying that he's changing the goalposts, and I don't know how that's related to a second referendum. because that wouldn't be something that Keir Starmer would have control over, unless it's part of the Labour Party manifesto. It's not at the moment. So if there's consensus in Parliament for a second referendum, it doesn't have to be the Labour Party that would put it forward, but if the Labour Party supported it and they have a majority, then there will be a second referendum. So it doesn't have to be part of the Labour Party manifesto. But if another party puts forward a motion for a second referendum and it receives enough support in Parliament, then it's probably going to go ahead. It's nothing to do with Keir Starmer. It has nothing to do with Keir Starmer's positions.
So you would be opposed essentially to any attempt to sort of rejoin?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I figured that. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay. I really don't understand this opposition to a second referendum, because the first referendum was supposed to be a demonstration of democracy. And people have been told it was a demonstration of democracy. We finally got a true democratic vote. Well then, if a majority of people want to rejoin the European Union, then shouldn't more democracy be a good thing? Even people who voted to leave should at least acknowledge, yes, if a majority support rejoining. Some Brexiteers actually go down that road. They will say that they do support a second referendum, but they believe that more people will vote to remain out. Not to remain in, but to remain out. Put it to the people. If the Remain side or the Rejoin side win, then that will be the way Britain goes forward. If the Leave side or Remain Out side wins, then Britain will remain outside the European Union. But put it to the people. People have changed their minds. Some people who couldn't vote in 2016 now can vote. And unfortunately, some people who did vote in 2016 are no longer with us. So the people deserve another chance. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.